What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Yotna. Thank you for tuning into the video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking Suicide Squad. So I finally got a chance to watch Suicide Squad this past weekend. I know I'm a week late, but I finally had the time to do it. And I went and checked it out. Now, leading up to this, I made sure to stay away from any video reviews, articles, anything. I did not read or watch a single review for this movie. Now, I did know that there was a negative response to this movie, that critics were beating it up, but I made sure not to read any reasons why, because I wanted to watch this movie with an unbiased opinion, right? Like making sure that there was no influence in my subconscious that might make me potentially not like a certain section just because I read someone else didn't like it, right? So I wanted to make sure that this was a super unbiased, non-influential opinion and review of the movie. So I think this is going to be one of the most, honest and unbiased opinions of the movie on YouTube. So thank you for joining me. Now, this is going to be a non-spoiler review, so I'm not going to discuss any spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, feel free to watch this, and at the end of it, I'll tell you a final grade, and you can make that decision whether you want to go pay to go see it. All right? So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about Suicide Squad. So the first thing I want to talk about is my overall opinion of the movie. I'm not going to give it a grade, but I want to say right off the bat, this movie was not as bad as I think critics were making it out. I know it had a really low Rotten Tomatoes score, but I don't think it was as bad as those percentages were saying. Now, that's not to say the movie was good, because it really wasn't great. It was sort of in the middle, like it was like okay, like I don't regret going to the movies to watch it, but I didn't walk out of the movies blown away. You know what I mean? So let's just dive right into it. So right off the bat, I'm gonna tell you the things that I liked about the movie. So the things I liked the characters. That's not to say that all characters did good, but for the most part, I thought most of the characters did really well. The chemistry of the cast was really good. Now it ain't on no Marvel level, but the cast, I think those decisions were really good. The whole squad, I think did a great job. Now, there were some characters that were sort of, I guess, featured more throughout the movie than others. And, I mean, for the most part, those ones that were featured more did really well. But there were some characters that did really well that weren't in the movie enough. For example, my man Jared Leto, who played the Joker. Now, again, I said it's no spoilers, but I do want to make this tidbit in this review. I liked Jared Leto's Joker. Like, I thought he did a really good job. But see, here's the problem. He wasn't in the movie enough. If you watch the trailers, right, you're led to believe that he's going to play major roles or a major part in the movie. And unfortunately, he kind of really doesn't. And that's kind of sad because I actually really liked his Joker. Now, I haven't, before I made this review, I have not read anything about this movie, right? So I don't know if people are liking his Joker or not. But my personal opinion, I actually really liked his Joker. I think and my friend, my dude Alex, man, he said it the best. He sort of took pieces of the Joker from, previous movies, TV shows, and fused them, and then sort of added his own little flair to it. And I think overall, like, he did a great job. Like, I was like, dude, I really like this Joker a lot. Like, his blend of, like, the animated series Joker, and then that sort of serious Joker, but then that sort of new age, modern, like, this Joker is dope type of Joker. Like, the infusion of all that I thought was dope. Like, I really like this Joker. Point blank, I'm not gonna say he's my favorite Joker because I can't make that decision just yet. I need to watch it maybe one more time. But he's up there. Like, I really liked his Joker, and unfortunately, he wasn't in the movie enough, and I was really disappointed by that. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to see. Because I was looking at trailers, I was like, "Hey, Jared Leto looks kind of dope as Joker." And I go watch the movie, and it's not in it enough. But like I said, I think as far as like characters and cast decisions go, everyone did good. I'm not going to run through every single character, but I think sort of the Joker was sort of the biggest one where, like, is he gonna be a good Joker? He's got tattoos that say damage on his forehead, da 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 da. No, he did awesome. Like, that's just my opinion. I think he did a great job. All the other characters, they did awesome as well. The overall chemistry, like, the jokes were well, not all the jokes, hit home, but there was a few times where I did laugh. But then there were some that fell a little bit flat. But for the most part, the chemistry and the jokes throughout the movie were pretty good. That's one thing I really liked about the movie. The action sequences, I really liked it in the movie as well. It's always dope when you watch a superhero movie and superheroes are doing superhero shit, right? Like, you got Deadshot. And this guy never misses, so he's up there. And he's just wrecking. He never misses. He's just wrecking everything, right? Harley Quinn was even wrecking, which I was like, how is Harley Quinn going to wreck? You have people that have like, these meta humans that have all these abilities. How is she going to wreck? She doesn't really have any abilities, but she could fight. She was putting in some good work. Boomerang, he was kind of dope. He didn't really do a lot, in my opinion, dude. But Diablo, man, that dude Diablo was dope. He did a great. The actor that played him did a great job. And his fight sequences were really dope as well when he finally got going throughout the movie. His fighting was awesome. His powers are dope. Now, I'm going to warn you guys right now that I'm not one of those people that, read all the comic books and have watched every single animated film and watched every single cartoon and knows all the stories for every single, every single story of every single character and every single arc and all that. I don't know any of all that stuff, right? So when I'm going into Suicide Squad, I'm not going in from the perspective of looking at, oh, will this line up with the comic book story, right? Like, that's not how I'm going to this movie. I'm just going into it purely as, is this a fun movie to watch? Is this a good movie? And so when I'm about to talk about the story, so that's why I'm mentioning this. So, I'm going to give you my opinion on the story. I don't know if it lines up with the comic book or with any, animated series or anything like that. I don't know if it lines up with that, but I'm just giving you my opinion on the film and its story. So, one of the problems with this movie is the story. Like, I felt like the villain wasn't very good. The enemies that they were fighting in the movie weren't very, I don't know, there just wasn't a lot to them. They were very plain, very generic. And again, I don't know if that's something from the comic book or they just made it for the movie, but the action sequences that involved sort of the minions in the movie, right? They can't fight the main boss immediately. They gotta fight these minions. The minions were very generic, very plain, and they were kind of boring, basically. The main villain was boring, and these little minions are boring. And so the story fell flat in that area. There were some other areas as well that deal with certain characters. If you've seen the movie, maybe you know what I'm talking about. That deal with certain characters' deaths. I'm not going to spoil, which characters this is involved with, but there's certain deaths in the movie that either don't make sense or it's like, why was that scripted like that? Like, that's kind of stupid, There was those moments as well. And then the pacing just felt weird. I was watching this movie and I can't pinpoint what it is specifically about the pacing that I didn't like. I don't know if it was too fast, too slow. It's just something about it was off. That's really all I can say. Something about the pacing was just off. That didn't feel fluid. It didn't feel smooth. Like they didn't just smoothly take you into the action scenarios and things like that. Like, it just, I don't know, man. The story overall just felt flat. It just wasn't a good story. Whoever wrote it just wasn't good. And when your story falls flat, when your plot falls flat in the movie, that's really gonna destroy the movie. Now, one more thing I do want to talk about in regards to the story is letting you guys know who haven't seen the film that there is a mid-credits scene. And for those of you who have seen it, man, that in mid-credit scene I thought was kind of pointless in comparison with the other DC things. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm just letting you know right now. I thought the mid-credit scene was pointless and kind of didn't really mesh well with what DC is trying to create in their film universe. Now, to add to that, there is some stuff in the Suicide Squad film itself that try to make tie-ins to the overall DC universe, or DC film universe, which I thought was cool. DC is really trying to do the whole Marvel thing, right, where uh, all the films are connected. So you have this one film, something happens, and the next film, whether it be solo or team film, is going to piggyback off of that. So they're trying to set up that, and for the most part, I thought that that was okay. Like the inclusion of, and this isn't a spoiler, this is in the trailers, the inclusion of Batman, I thought was really awesome. And it really added to trying to unify all the DC films and create that DC film universe. I thought that that was awesome. Another great thing about this movie was the soundtrack, man. The soundtrack is dope. And before I even watched this movie, I actually went and looked up the soundtrack on Spotify and listened to some of the songs from it. So I knew going in, I was like, man, the soundtrack's gonna be hot. And sure enough, throughout the film, like just the soundtrack was incredible. One of my favorite songs is probably the ending credit songs, but throughout the film, the soundtrack is on point. I really like the music and the music choices for scenes in the movie. Now, I'm sure that not everyone agreed with the soundtrack choices for the film, but in my opinion, I liked it. I thought the soundtrack was dope. And if you didn't like it, that's cool. I mean, I can respect that. But in my opinion, I thought soundtrack was dope. All right, so check it out, guys. It's kind of hard to really dive into the film without any spoilers. So I'm just going to sum everything up for you guys and just cut it to you straight, all right? So this movie is worth seeing at least once, in my opinion. And like, I really enjoyed watching it in IMAX. And I would actually recommend you go check it out in IMAX. That's just my personal opinion. I think it's worth watching one time. The action is pretty good. The cast and the characters that they play are really good. The chemistry is good. Some jokes are pretty funny. I think it's one of those films that you can just watch once and be like, yeah, okay, it was all right. It's worth watching one time. But anything beyond that, not really, right? Like I said, it's sort of just an okay movie. The Joker, I thought he was dope. Would have liked to have seen more of him. I think out of the main group of characters, Deadshot was probably my favorite. No, I take that back. Diablo is probably my favorite. He did some work. And Killer Croc was dope too. I was kind of surprised. I thought he'd be kind of dumb, but he was dope. Honestly, all the characters, man, were really good. That cast of characters was awesome, man. Again, chemistry was on point. And I think that was really important for a movie that's about a squad of villains. But yeah, the story falls a little bit flat. So, I'm just gonna warn you going into the movie. You're not going to be very pleased with the story and some of the decisions made within the film itself. But there are some enjoyable moments in the movie that don't completely destroy the experience. And again, this is an unbiased opinion, all right? Like, you may have read all the reviews out there that say this movie's a piece of shit, whatever they have to say. In my personal opinion, I think this movie is worth watching at least one time, just so you can see the really awesome special effects, the really cool action sequences. Seeing all these characters realized in live action, it's just awesome, right? There's just nothing else you can really say about it. Seeing a new Joker on film is really cool. Did a great job. Harley Quinn is awesome as well. I don't know the Katana girl's name. I think her name might be Katana, but she was awesome too. I mean, overall, man, everybody was awesome. I think it's worth watching once. I don't really get the extreme negativity around this movie, and I don't know if it's because fans who are were big time fans of Suicide Squad as far as comic books goes, who just don't think it lines up well with that. I'm not really entirely sure, but check it out, guys. In my personal opinion, this movie is worth watching at least one time. But I will warn you that going in, story's flat. You're gonna think a lot of things might be stupid, but you will get some laughs and some enjoyment. And you will like the visuals of the movie, and you may even enjoy the soundtrack. So, my final grade for Suicide Squad is a C. Now, I understand that some of you may not agree with that. Some of you may think this movie is an F, but there might be some of you that think it's an A+. I don't know. Everyone's got their own opinions, and I can respect that. You gotta respect everyone's opinion. But in my opinion, this movie is worth a C. It wasn't completely terrible, but it wasn't great either. It was just in the middle. It was just okay. I think it's worth watching at least one time. I watched it in IMAX. The visuals were freaking awesome in IMAX. The sound effects and the soundtrack were, crazy in IMAX. I'm a big fan of IMAX. So go check this movie out. I think it's worth watching at least once. And if you disagree, let me know down in the comments. Why is it that you think this movie is, a D or an F? If you really like this movie, think it's a B or an A, let me know down in the comments below why you think this movie is so awesome. And if you haven't seen it yet, do you plan on seeing it? If not, drop it in the comments below why you aren't gonna go see it. And then for those of you who haven't seen it and will go see it, come back and discuss the movie down in the comments below and give me your thoughts on it. But as always, thank you so much for tuning into my video. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And as always, hit that red subscribe button, support your boy, and subscribe to my content so you can be notified when I create new videos. I do movie reviews, gameplay videos, playthroughs, unboxings, the whole gamut, man. I'll do anything on my channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe so you can get notified of all my new videos. But again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.